Thank you, Warren. This makes it really easy, doesn't it? I don't know if you guys follow hockey. Well, the greatest player of our time was Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne, very early in his career, said, when they asked him how he was scoring so well, and he goes, well, I don't go where the puck is. I go where it's going to be. So he's trying to figure out where it's going to be. And I think this is where I think Uranium is a good story. And this is how I got in the business, 1996. A fellow named Rick Rule and a friend of his named Lucas Lundin really felt uranium was the place to be, and we picked up some assets. If you invested with us in 1996 and bought Strathmore, today you can look in your account, have 4 different stocks. So you would own Energy Fuels, Denison Mines, you would own Fission 3.0 and Fission Uranium. We've been building shareholder value. Not when you have a bull market, Warren's right, everything goes up. But the problem is when it drops, you find out who has any assets, the shakeout. So we've been building shareholder value for quite a long time. The one thing we've been able to do is be a contrarian thinker. Rick Rule always says, you're a contrarian or you're a victim, right? So everybody was saying back in 1996 that uranium was done, it was over with, blah, blah, blah. And, but you know what? We took a chance. We started a company called Strathmore, and the market cap was, so tiny. I think it was around $2 and went all the way to $500 million almost. We then, a bunch of us entrepreneur groups spun out a company called Fission Energy from it, and eventually the other assets got sold. But the key in my mind is that I was told it's your projects, your brains, other people's money. And that's what we've been doing. We did it with Sumitomo. They gave us a heavy lifting. And then back in 7, 8, 9, remember how tough those days were. We're lucky that the Korean company KEPCO, the utility, they gave us enough money to stay alive. And with our good luck, Hathor next door made a discovery, and we made a discovery. And that's when we sold that to Mr. Lundin and Group. And we literally had no money hardly into the project. And then we kept a small piece of land on the west side, and I'll explain that a bit. We took over the other half of the assets. We've since then brought in, a couple of years ago, CGN. I call them the mothership of the industry. When I got in the industry, Kazakhs were about 4 or 5% of the market, and China had maybe 2 commercial reactors. Today, they got 19 on their way to 40. So the Chinese are building more reactors. That's a significant change, and Kazakhs are the leader. But the mothership, in my view, in our industry is CGN. There was a time where even oil companies were looking for uranium in the 70s. In fact, and even GE Electric was in the uranium business. I think it was a guy who staked some land in Wyoming. He went on to become the largest shareholder of GE just from staking land because there were so many mines there. Anyways, that's what we've been doing, is shareholder value. This project has won literally every possible award. You know why? Because it's an absolute one in a lifetime. Those who know the uranium industry know that if you wanted something really shallow and easy to mine, you went to Africa. You had some political issues and low grade. Over in Canada, you had high grade, great place to work. However, they were deep. Comes along Fission. Ross and the team found something that had the advantage of close to surface, 50 meters, and had the advantage of high grade, large pounds, over 100 million. That's why it's won every award possible. And I'll point out that having a shallow is more than just easier, cheaper mining. There's a few more people that can buy us. There's only one person in the world that can buy any deposit that's deep. Chemical. Because mining in Canada, the Athabasca, is very difficult. Because it's called the unconformity, and you can have all sorts of issues. But when you start mining deep, there's only one company that can take you out, and that's Cameco. With us, we believe there's a number of players that can do open pit. Makes it much easier. As I said, we tick off all the boxes when it comes to jurisdiction, grade, size, and etc. Now, this tells you with the reactors what we're seeing. What often people miss is Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, those places, home of cheap oil, really wants to have their own reliable source, electricity. And so they're building reactors, which shocks most people. Now, the question is, like Warren's asking earlier, is if you got all this, got this deficit, what's going on? The problem you've got is the Kazakhs, up to this point, because they were more interested in creating jobs than they were. Does it make any sense in terms of profit margin? So I believe Kazakhs going public is going to force them to have transparency, and it's going to force them to have to see how economic deposits are. So what's the best thing for low uranium prices? You cut supply, right? So that's what's happened. Using Kazakhs, and the big piece that I see is what Cameco did. Cameco shut down MacArthur, a very, very high-grade mine that they already had money into. I don't think they're going to be buying anybody anytime soon when they've got that. So they took off MacArthur, which was about 15 to 18 million pounds, and that's been the overhang we've had. We've had overhang from Japan selling its uranium. We have what they call SWU processing, where Russians don't underfeed, so they have extra uranium, and they dump that on the market. Plus, every year the U.S. government has got some resource, and they keep dumping. They don't care about price. So with Cameco shutting down that mine, they've really taken that overhang out. What I can never explain, if you guys did this for a living investing, we'd all be broke. Okay, this is the spot price, the red, okay? Hopefully in the back you guys can see this. These two blue is contracting. So when the price is low, they don't contract a lot of utilities. They wait till they got high. It's like saying, buy high, sell low. We don't do that in business, but that's exactly what the utilities do. They really are lemmings. Now, in their defense, the cost of uranium is a very small part of the overall running a nuclear reactor, actually buying the fuel, right? It's 3 to 5% depending who you speak to. So it's a rounding error. But it's still, I never understand why utilities, right now, why aren't the utilities out there aggressively buying? Part of it is, I think, with Japan not out of the market, they had a real long-term view. They would buy, uranium 5-10 years out. The Americans are literally only buying every 2-3 years out. That's what Cameco did. This tells you what's under construction. It's a great story, and we've covered it. What I want to show you is why we are in Canada. Why is NextGen? Why is Fission in Canada? Look at the grade. There's absolutely no comparison. Now, we're over here. Everybody told us, there was all the uranium was in here. Don't go over here. Well, our team didn't listen to the Bible of the time. We actually went to the other side. More importantly, you notice both the Arrow and Fission's deposits are actually NextGen's right here. We're actually not in the basin, which is fantastic, because what happened, the glaciers wiped away that milky, like it's like a milkshake type sandstone. It took them off, and we're a nice hard basement rock, which is engineer's dream for mining. But it's funny how when I got in the business, they said, don't go over here. There's nothing over there. And yet now the two biggest deposits in the basin that have been not developed are on that side. So it's contrarian thinking. We found a way to fly an airplane with higher resolution and literally picked up boulders, and the boulders went back. Why does it matter? Okay, people say, look at the basin. Okay, these are the names of every deposit in the basin. This is the depth. The gray ones have been mined out, and the green ones have not been mined out. So look where Triple R fits in. So it's no fluke that what the industry does is take the easy fruit and takes them. That's why being able to have an open pit, what it matters, it always gets in production first. That's our size of it, and we're at the booth here, and we can go through a lot more detail, what it will look like, and we'll have a pre-feasibility. Same thing here. The numbers are fantastic when you do your, we'll have our pre-feasibility coming out as well. It's our PA, and et cetera. So, but, I'm just encouraging you. I do think uranium is going to be where the place to be. I can't tell you if it's 3 weeks or a year, but I do believe with Kazakhs going public, forced transparency, They have to tell what if they're making money or not. And with chemicals cuts, you're going to see high uranium prices, and we have. It was low as 18, and now we're at 27. Thank you.